Hello, I'm Lloyd Lewis and this is the Dressing Gown Diary review of the first test, the Lions Series, Australia 2013. What a test match! It had everything. It was exciting, it was edge of the seat stuff, it was cracking rugby. Oh, heart rates were up, didn't know what was going to happen. All this talk about Australia not being ready for the game, all this talk about the Lions and how they were going to play. And unfortunately, one thing that did happen, that did come to pass, was how poor the referee was. That's the first thing I want to talk about. The interpretation of the breakdown, how he interpreted the scrum, it was so angry! He made me mad. The first breakdown he got wrong. The penalty that Will Genia then tapped, I think he interpreted that incorrectly as well. There were three Australian players diving over the ball. Stephen Moore, you're straight on top, you flopped. Should be a penalty the other way. Was there really an advantage from the other infringement that the Australians made just before? I don't think there was. The Lions played for 3 or 4 phrases, didn't cross the gain line. Well, the referee's got to stop. He's got to get his arm out. Penalty to the Lions. Lee Harpenny steps up and kicks. I think if that happens again, you'll see the Lions players, they'll play for a deliberate knock-on. They'll knock the ball down and we'll get the 3 points, game over, build pressure on the scoreboard. So that was a really disappointing aspect to the game. Having watched it again, I'm still not sure what the penalty for the scrum in the last minute was for either. So he seemed to be blowing freely. As ever, a good referee is one that you don't see. I mean, my favourite referee at the moment, by far, is Nigel Owens. He's so far ahead of anyone else. He talks to the players. He lets them know what's going on. Hands off, red 6. Step away, blue 4. They know what's going on. If they go in again, it's a penalty. O'Driscoll feels massively aggrieved with how he played and what went on in the breakdown area. It nullified one of the Lions' big aspects of play, the defensive side. So that was a bit disappointing. I think Gatland, he will be breathing a massive sigh of relief. The last 15 minutes, it could have gone either way. The players lacked belief. You saw their body language, shoulders down. The substitutions, there's been a lot in the press about this week. The substitutions were a big call. Did they get it right? Well, clearly in the scrum, they didn't. We smashed the Australian scrum early on and then gave away a penalty and a turnover in the last 5 minutes with a different front row on. Also, Cole and Vinapolo gave away penalties in loose play. Tough calls. I think the big thing that I noticed is the question of whether the Aussies were battle hardened. It's all very well playing and training behind closed doors, but clearly there's a question. The number of injuries they had. Were these players battle hardened when they came into a test match? This was a test match of massive intensity. You had 50,000 people screaming their heads off. Basically, probably a 50-50 crowd with home and Lions. So that's a big question, but I'm not sure the number of knocks that the Aussies got, whether they could really say that they were ready for an intense test match. Now, with all the substitutions, I didn't think the Lions made the most of it either. In the last 20 minutes, the Australian backline was all over the place. They had centres who were actually not centres at all, unlike Tom Youngs, who plays now at a hooker. We had flankers in the centre. Now, the Lions exposed that link in Hooper expertly for Cuthbert's try. But I'm expecting a lot more. I thought 20 points maybe in the last 15 minutes. If you've got players that are playing out of position, you focus on them, you target them, you expose them with different running lines. I mean, the Lions' backline was pretty much as it started. You've got to be doing better. So that is an area of concern for me. The lack of leadership as well in the last 15 minutes. He left Paul O'Connell on for exactly that reason. He took Alwyn Jones off, who was having a pretty good game, to keep Paul O'Connell on there for the last 10 minutes. Now, I know he's got a broken arm. We found that out afterwards. But O'Connell, Warburton, O'Driscoll, they weren't really showing their leadership intensity in the last 10 minutes, which was a bit of a concern. At the end of the day, a win is a win. They are 1-0 up in the series. This is massive. Australia, they're in a bit of problem. They don't know what to do. They've got O'Connor at 10. He didn't have a great game. They've got Curtly Beale came in. He looked awesome. They've got the new winger. I mean, how are the Lions going to close him down? He was electric. I'm disappointed with how Phillips defended when Genia took the tap and ran. It looked like Phillips was just jogging back. 80 minutes and you're 30 points up. Fine, mate, have a rest. This is in the intensity of a test match. Everything is on the line. I didn't see from you what I want to see. I want to see some intensity. I want to see you running back. I want to see you at least take him out. Oh, angry about that. Phillips didn't have a great game. There were a lot of players that didn't really step up. I didn't think Heaslip played particularly well. I didn't think Tom Croft played particularly well. Warburton was average only. O'Connor was average only. The backs, the two wings, well, they scored amazing tries. Amazing tries. But in defence, there are big questions. So at the moment, we're 1-0 up. We move on to Melbourne. There was a great performance yesterday against the Reds. I'll give you more in my preview show on Friday, but for now, it's 1-0 to the Lions. Lions! Lions! Lions!